In this video, we're going to look at the TIDRadio TD-H9. Now, this radio has supposedly full APRS built in, and I've been testing it and I've found a couple of issues. The one thing that I first noticed when I got this radio is obviously this is one of the newer radios that are charged via USB-C. You'll see that there's a USB-C connector here on the bottom. And when I tried to take the battery off, it proved very, very difficult, and it still is difficult. This clip here on the bottom is very hard to undo. Oh. In actual fact, I had to get a screwdriver to do it last time. There. I can't do it by hand. That's probably, I don't know, maybe a good thing. If you never have to remove the battery, then it's probably a good thing and it's never going to come off. But I just found that when I was playing with it. Anyway, USB-C, there's another LED here on the back of the battery pack. This is a 2400 milliamp hour battery pack, 7.4 volts. Here's the TIDRadio FCC ID, so you can look that up if it's legit or not. Obviously, it comes with the Whippy antenna like most radios do. The pack that they sent here was actually a 2-pack, so there's actually a black one here as well. Here's the Australian charge plug with USB on the outside. They also supply the USB-C cables as well. Belt clip, all of the normal stuff that you would expect that gets sent with these radios. So turning the radio on, we get a splash screen, and we actually get a nice Australian lady on this radio.
Welcome.
Well, at least I think she's Australian. If you put in a frequency,
1451755.
Pretty sure that she's Aussie. Anyway, it depends on what region you're in, depends on what lady you get in your radio. This radio comes with Bluetooth, so you can pair this to a speaker or a headset, I believe. I haven't done that, but you can also pair it to their Odemaster software as well. I don't use that. I have used it in the past before. It is a very quick way of being able to program up this radio. I like to use Chirp. That's probably the easiest, using the K connector here on the side. Not entirely sure if it's supported over USB on this radio. I haven't tested that. One of the things that I found going through the menus, they do now separate out on some of these newer radios the radio setting to the programmed channel. So radio setting is kind of like everything that is common to the radio. So you can go into here, squelch level, step frequency, all these sort of things, timeout timer, which by default is only set at 60 seconds. So you do have to come in here and turn it right up. There's some other, obviously other bits that are common to everything in here, display brightness, all these sort of things you can set up. Now, program channel menu, this is where you come and actually program the frequencies into your channel. Now, this radio has 2 VFOs. I'm on VFO B here. There's obviously the other one. If you select AB, here you can select this is in channel mode. We can also select VFO mode 2 there if we want. So that's good. So come back into the program channel menu. This is where we set our receive and transmit subaudible tones, so CT, CSS. So you can go in here and alter that and change that to what you want, which is reasonably easy. Bandwidth, wideband, power. Apparently this radio is a 10-watt radio, so we're going to stick that on the power meter later and just double check that. I found that it's reasonably easy to get started really quickly, programming in a frequency and just going without actually having to go and plug in a programming software. So that's where it's reasonably easy. That's kind of where it ends. When we go a little bit further into the APRS menu, it gets complicated. Now, I will say that another radio that I use APRS on, and this is kind of, I guess, probably a gold standard of back in the day with APRS, this is the THD72. This radio was one of the OGs, I suppose, when it comes to APRS. And it's reasonably easy to get APRS going on this particular radio. So just keep in mind that this is the gold standard. and this is what they're trying to implement. And APRS, look, to be quite honest, APRS is a hard thing to implement. It's not easy. So I appreciate that they're trying their best, but there are a couple of things that they need to try and work on here. If you go into GNSS, this is the menu that has the GPS, so you can turn this on and off. Now you can go to GPS info, and in here you can actually get your latitude, longitude, the date, time, altitude, all this sort of thing. Obviously I'm here in the bottom of the shack, so I'm not in a very good location for locking a GPS. However, I was upstairs indoors and it did lock, and it locked pretty quickly. So that worked really well. You can also go in here and select what kind of position you want to display on APRS2. There's the time zone, speed unit, whether you want to show kilometers an hour, knots, miles per hour. There's the distance, so kilometers, miles, etc. So you can go in here and you can adjust these. You can also have a fixed location as well. So if you don't want to use the GPS, you can go in and put that sort of thing in. APRS, okay, let's dive into this menu. Now, before I actually say anything, the first thing that I noticed is you can't mute the side of the radio that APRS is on. So generally when you've got a radio like this, you've got two VFOs, you'll have APRS say on the top and you'll have just your normal voice channel on the bottom. What you can do is in this menu, you can go, in this radio, you can go in and you can select audio balance. So the audio balance, as you can see there, is entirely to VFOB on this Kenwood, because I don't want to hear the APRS packets coming through. I still want to see them on the screen, but I don't want to hear them. So that's essentially what this radio actually lacks. This radio doesn't allow you to be able to do that, as far as I understand. That might be just a firmware change or something like that, but that's one thing that TIDRadio can keep in mind. Anyway, APRS switch. So this turns on or off APRS. So you can select it on or off. Beacon set, now we've got to turn it on so I can show you the rest of the menus. Beacon set, here, this is where you come in and you select your call sign, SSID and all this sort of thing. Now, when I came into call sign here to put in my call sign, it was a little bit confusing to try and figure out. Yes, I can do the numbers and I can type in my call sign and all that sort of thing, but there's a delete button. And I was like, well, I don't know which button's delete. So I had to fiddle around and figure out that star is actually delete. If you press, I think it's hash, this puts it into the number mode. So when you're putting in your call sign and you get to your digit, you have to press hash to get to, or pound key, to get to the number mode. If you press it again, now your digits or your alphabetical letters are now lowercase. So there's a little bit of stuffing around here to try and get your call sign in, but I did manage to do it, and then obviously menu then saves that. Next down is SSID. So this is where you can select your dash SSID, so you can select all the way from 0 to 9. You can select your symbol. So this is actually not selecting your symbol. This is selecting the table that the symbol is in. So you've got the primary or alternate table. And then custom info. This is where you can put in, I think, a status message. I didn't put anything in here, but I think that you can type that in. And then icon settings. So this is where you actually set your symbol or your icon that shows on the map. So if you actually scroll through here, there's heaps and heaps and heaps of them. So pretty much everything I think is in here that is in the normal APRS. So that's good. I just selected a human because usually if you're handheld, you'll be a little man or a little human on the screen that will show. Mic E, so it will do the compression in there, so you can turn that on and then you can select what type, so off duty or whatever you want, so they're all listed as well. Route 1, now this is the wide one settings that you need to determine how your beacon is going to be hopped through. So I don't quite understand how they've sort of structured this. So you've got wide 1, which is in the route 1, and then you've got route 1 count. So I think this means wide 1-1, and then you've got a route 2, so you've got a wide 2-2. I think that's how they've actually set that up, but I'm not entirely sure. I just left it as default, I beaconed out and I showed on the map, so that was not a problem. You can select report voltage, so you've got off and on here. You can report how many satellites you're receiving. You can report how fast you're going. And you can, and then that's the beacon side of things. Going into the next menu, so you've got beacon type. So you've got two types of beacons. You've got PTT linkage. So if you turn this on, it means that every time you hit the push to talk button, you will send out an APRS packet. This is very dangerous because if you have this turned on and you're on a voice channel and you press the PTT button, you're going to beacon out every single time. And you could beacon out over repeaters, over simplex, over hotspots. You just don't know if you've got this, if you've got APRS turned on and you've got this turned on. So I don't really like this. I would like it if in the firmware you could select like, you know, I don't know, PTT after, 10 goes or something like that. Then it will send a beacon, but and also only send it on the APRS side of the radio. So that would be very handy, but obviously that's not implemented in here. Again, I feel like these are all firmware things that can be fixed. Timed beacon. So you can turn this on and off. So I've got this turned on to beacon every 60 seconds automatically, which is fine. Relay set, I have no idea what any of this means. I think it's maybe digipeters, I don't know, I just left it off. Advanced set, in here the APRS receive channel, so you can select which channel actually has the APRS on it. So I've got the channel B or VFOB. Same too with the transmit as well. I don't know, I haven't really looked at the manual what the difference is between lock and auto or both, but I've locked it, I think, to B, which I think means that it will only transmit APRS on the B channel. But again, you just got to be careful and make sure that you only keep it on that particular channel on the APRS side of things. You can also select receive and transmit tones, but we don't need those. Pretty much they are the APRS settings. Now I did beacon and it did transmit out and I managed to be able to get to my iGate and I appeared on the map, so that was all fine. But it's just frustrating that you have that issue where you can't mute the audio coming in. And that sort of, becomes a little bit of a deal breaker. You could potentially just use this as a dumb tracker. So you could stick this in your car and just beacon along every 60 seconds if you wanted to. The other thing that is also missing in this is smart beaconing. If this had smart beaconing, so that it varies the packet rate of how much you're actually transmitting depending on where you're, how fast you're going, what corners you're taking, all those sort of things, then this radio would be really good. Radios like this have smart beaconing built into them. Again, I feel like that's a firmware thing. Now, the thing that I do like about this radio is it does have a nice screen. The buttons are very nice and it feels quite rugged. The only thing is it lacks a little bit in some areas, especially just being used as a normal radio. So here I am on 440.150. Just watch what happens. Now, when I transmit here, and I'll turn the audio up, and I let go of the button, just watch what happens. See the delay there? There's quite a delay between when you let go of the button and it's transmitting and when you receive. Now that might not necessarily be a problem, but I can see that as an issue if you're listening to a fast transmission. You might miss the first sort of word or first few syllables of someone transmitting. And I just noticed it is a little bit variable as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to beacon from my other handheld and we'll just see what pops up. And it's not picking it up. See the delay as well, and I'm not seeing anything pop up on the screen either. Maybe that's a squelch thing. So let's just go in and go to radio setting, squelch. Let's go off. There we go. That actually popped up that time. So, but it needed the squelch open all the way, which is a little bit frustrating. Let's see if we can do it on squelch level 1. Yeah, see, it's missing the packets. So that delay in that audio that I showed you when we were transmitting with voice, that's becoming a problem as well. Let's just transmit again here. So it's not even hearing it. Yeah. There we go, it got it that time. But that's a problem. If you're missing packets because the receiver's not quick enough to be able to pick them up and decode them, then that's going to render this fairly useless for APRS. And if you've got your squelch set quite high, that's also going to be a problem. There we go, it worked that time. So, okay, that's 2 out of 3. So I just beaconed again, it didn't hear it. It beaconed then, it didn't hear it. So it's a little bit hit and miss. Let's go now and test what audio sounds like.
What the audio sounds like on the TIDRadio TD-H9. I'm just using my Kenwood in the other room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit echoey in this room, but it kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what the audio sounds like.
Now I'm going to show you what the audio sounds like coming out of the radio. Now, when I did transmit and I was beaconing earlier on APRS, it was doing some funky things earlier. It's setting off my foot massager. Oh. Oh. I don't think it's supposed to be doing that. Oh, no. Okay. My Kenwood does it too. This must be just sensitive to RF. But then I realised that that's just my foot massager that's actually being the problem there, which is interesting. Anyway, so we will see what the audio sounds like now. So I'm going to dial up the parrot node. VK7HH testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, audio test.
Audio level is low. VK7HH testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, audio test.
Now that just told me that my audio is a little bit low. So what you can do is if we go into the radio setting and we scroll down towards the bottom, there is a mic gain here. So we can go into mic gain, and at the moment I think it's set to mid-range, so 5. Let's just go up and we'll set that to 8 now, and we'll do that same test again. So it is handy to be able to have that setting to be able to adjust it. Let's see if it's worked or not. VK7HH testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, audio test.
Audio level is normal. VK7HH testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, audio test.
All right, now we're going to do a power test. So I'm on high power. Let's have a look and see. We get there 8.52 watts or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, VK7HH, audio sounds okay. Middle power is 6 watts. And low power is 3 watts. Righto, let's move to UHF now, and high power. We get slightly less, 7.5 odd watts or so. Medium power is a tick over 4 watts, and low power is around about 2 watts. Now the moment that we've all been waiting for, the spurious emissions test. So I've got a center frequency there of 146,500. I'm going to turn my reference level up to 40 dB, which should mean that the top of the spectrum analyzer should be reading about 10 watts there. So we transmit, and we've got our carrier that's sitting in there. We've got quite a wide span going on here. I've got a 200 meg span. We probably don't need that. Okay, that's looking a little ugly actually. That's meh. 1, 2, hello, VK7HH. Yeah, that's not looking a real flash. Let's look at the second harmonic. Yeah, okay, that looks that's ugly. So let's just go back in here and we'll set our transmit power back up to high. That's looking okay. But the low power, whatever they're doing with the low power, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's looking a bit, I don't know, it doesn't quite look right to me. There is quite a lot of options when it comes to handheld radios. If you want to see some of those, I've reviewed them before on this channel, and they'll appear over here in this playlist.